may be saying, I know about ski jumps and I know about submarines, but I've never seen them used together before in a title of a presentation. What's up with that? Bear with me and let me see if I can connect the dots for you. But first, why I made this series of videos. I put in my time to become an expert in inventory control. First, 10,000 hours invested in getting inventory accuracy down to 6 parts per million. And another 10,000 learning how to manage inventory levels. I've traveled the world consulting, and now I want to make a difference here at home. So if any of this makes you want to know more, I'm here to share my know-how free. If you don't have time to become an expert, we offer services to do it for you, your choice. There's nothing so beguiling as the idea of knowing the future in advance. Think of what that could do for you with that skill. However, there are inherent difficulties with forecasting. A forecaster who I think is very bright has 14 different forecasting algorithms. His software looks back through historic data and picks the correct algorithm and forecasts based on that. It's a good thing too, because a grocery store that holds 35,000 SKUs is thereby saved from making 490,000 decisions and rechecking them every day. And if the algorithms can be used together in combination, like seasonal and slow moving and long lead time, that makes 87 billion choices for each of the 35,000 SKUs each day. It's a good thing the computer does it. The next question. Have you ever gone to the supermarket and found them out of stock on anything? Have they ever been sold out of the one style of shoes you wanted to buy, even though your foot is average sized? Do you think delivery of a big bulldozer has ever been delayed by the lack of a cheap cotter pen? The answer to all these queries is, of course, yes. If forecasting is the killer app, why do these things happen? Let's take a much simpler example. Here is SKU A, which is held in inventory at location X to meet market demand in that location. The owners of the company don't want to miss sales and thereby disappoint their customers, so they employ a very sophisticated and expensive forecasting software. Here's some data about SKU A. The first two are just facts. It takes a month to get more, and average consumption is about 12 a week. The second two are conclusions come to by the purchasing department. They found a reasonable balance between too much workload and too much inventory can be struck by waiting until their on-hand inventory falls to 70 before ordering and then buying 10 weeks worth of expected demand. This has them ordering 5 times a year and gives them an average on hand of about 100. Let's see what this looks like on a chart. We'll look at an arbitrary period of time, the third quarter of the year here from July 1 through the end of September. In blue is the weekly sales. These are actual sales. In pink are the forecasts. So you can see what happened here. The forecast was fairly close for the week of July 22nd, so we forecasted the same thing, but sales went up. And so we forecasted higher and sales went up again, forecasted higher, sales went up again, forecasted higher. You get the pattern. This looks like a trend, doesn't it? Since these sales were higher and higher, the forecast went up, leaving this poor forecast badly wrong when the demand for the week dropped to only 3. And it's just sort of a reversion to the mean, isn't it? I mean, if somebody buys a lot and it's not caused by any kind of new trend, in this case it wasn't. This was just a normal statistical variation, happened to be by chance that 4 days in a row the demand went up. If you have lots of items, that's going to happen to you. You can see that the forecast here is kind of searching for the right place for the rest of the time. And this isn't bad. The forecast is working pretty darn well, it seems like to me. Now let's look at what happens to on-hand inventory. To see that, we're going to look at the right-hand y-axis, which I've shifted up so that the lines won't be on top of each other. 0 is here in the middle, and it goes up to 250. Here's a line showing the reorder point of 70 units that purchasing just found out works. In green are the on-hand inventory levels over the same time frame. Perhaps it's obvious, but in case not, this increase that we had here had to be due from receiving more from the supplier than was sold during the week of July 1st. And that order, remember, had to have been placed 4 weeks earlier, around the 1st of June. At this point, after the week of August 12th, right here, the on-hand inventory had fallen below the reorder point. Therefore, an order is placed for the latest forecast of 23 times 10. That's 230 units. And a month later, when the random surge of sales has subsided and been forgotten, the order arrives and inventory ski jumps way up. The forecast just followed the sales up, and the huge order was placed to protect against the predicted new higher level of demand, except sales drop back to normal. It'll be weeks and weeks before the inventory gets back to where it was. Why did the forecast software stick us with too much inventory? Well, it was fooled by randomness, which is the title of Nassim Nicholas Taleb's 2001 book on that exact subject. If you have enough products, many of them will experience what looks like a new trend, and you'll buy too much, not for any reason, but just a random pattern of variation. Other products will find favor with customers, and the same pattern of sales will represent bona fide new trend that the forecast will recognize. So sometimes it helps you, sometimes it doesn't. Let's look at the opposite next, submarining. Same old product, but now it's the beginning of the next year, first quarter of the year. And sales for the week of January 8th was right on the forecast. But then sales dropped and dropped again. So the forecast dropped and the on-hand fell below the reorder point. So an order is placed for 50. That's 10 times this forecast here of 5. Fooled again by randomness, when the demand picks up, you can see the small increase due to the order received is so small it doesn't even get back to the reorder point. Purchasing knows they're busted. He immediately placed an order for another 150, which is 10 times the current forecast of 15. In other words, triple the last order. Then they pray. Sadly, only 3 are sold for the week of March 18th, not because that's all the customers want, because that's all the inventory there was at the end of the previous week. Nothing is left to sell for the week of March 25th because the supplier, the dirty rat, was a week late in delivering, which of course this stuff happens, right? Now, I wonder how many customers will abandon you permanently due to this forecast-driven submarining. Inventory going underwater. Can we give up on forecasting yet? Knowing about trends early is a huge advantage. You want to be able to say yes to new business without shorting existing customers. The sooner you're alerted that you need more, the better. The same is true when business drops off, so you don't get stuck with dead stock. I mean, who needs a forecasting system if nothing changes? Their only value is in predicting the future, a future that's different than the past. But the more reactive you make it, the more false trends it identifies. This leads to ski jumping and submarining, as we said, and submarining means lost sales, while ski jumping means higher inventories. At any given moment, you're out of too many items, and you have enough of others for your grandchildren. This means worse ROI. Of course, nobody likes to be fooled, so it seems wise to tune the forecasting system to be a little less fooled by randomness. But now real trends are initially ignored, which means you keep on buying even after customers cool off on a product, leading to obsolescence, and for other products you don't buy more when they catch fire, leading to shortages, which means bad service, while the obsolete products turn into write-offs. This pressure forces you to go back and tune the system to be more reactive again. But look at the fix you're in. You're damned either way. Both sides make the ROI drop. What neither of us know is how good your ROI could be if everything was just normal. And this makes it hard for you to act, because if you don't know what you stand to gain, then why would you take action? So you're trying to strike some balance between jumpy and sleepy, and it's a dangerous decision. Whatever you decide impairs the ROI. If you make it too reactive, you get more ski jumping and submarining, both of them. And if you make it too passive, it doesn't help you in time. Yes, there's a hypothetical least bad point, kind of a, but that just gets you to where 1/3 of the inventory is too little and 1/3 is way too much, and nothing is perfect, even the third in the middle, except for just by fluke. I say you should ditch forecasting altogether. Ditch it. But everybody does it, and everybody can't be wrong. You're right to think that forecasting is what everybody uses. Even without any systems, it's what they use. Could be just purchasing clerks using their intuition. Could be manually set max mins. You may wish, if only I could afford some cool new software, but that doesn't work either. Let me explain. I consulted for Kroger 12 years ago when they were about an $80 billion company. That's pretty big. At that time, they told me they had spent $250 million to forecast everything in their 2,600 stores, from demand to the weather. How did it work? They still had about 8% on-shelf shortages, about the same as the rest of the industry. How about inventory? Well, they threw away $4 million a year worth of milk each year that got past its expiration date. And how much inventory do you think they had on their shelves? Now consider, they can get more from their own distribution centers every 2 to 3 days. That's the slow deliveries. Fast movers like soft drinks, beer, and bread represent 30% of sales and get delivered direct to the shelves daily by their suppliers. So what do you say? How many days of supply do they have on the shelves? What makes sense to you? 5 days worth on average? 10? Nope. It's more like 3 weeks worth. Now, please don't hear me criticizing Kroger. Kroger is a great company. They employ good, smart people. They certainly spend more money to get forecasting right than you ever could. No, I want to suggest that it's forecasting that's to blame. Eliminate it. Ban forecasting. Yes, it certainly would be great if we could do it. That's true. But if Kroger, who are excellent, must hold 3 weeks worth when they can get more in 2 days, and only 92% of their goods are in stock, then nobody can do forecasting. It's no damn good. Do you believe in fortune tellers? Will you bet money on your horoscope? I can hear you answering, no. The Infinity Loop and the Kroger story prove that forecasting is a direct cause of impaired return on investment. No compromise is attractive. We've got a wonderful solution, though, an alternative to forecasting called inventory buffering. And shh, don't tell anybody. Almost nobody knows about it. And if they don't know about it, it means that it's a competitive advantage for you. If you're curious at all, email us at supply_stream@ssco.pro. We'll get right back to you. To learn more on the sly, go to our website, neverrunout.com. Check it out. Let us help you make some real money and your life easier at the same time. It'll make you the hero.